So this is just some raw copper that I have that I picked up in Michigan, and I've annealed it in a fire. So I stuck it in a fire to get it hot enough to re-soften it. So this is a piece that I have had from before that I worked, and I stuck it down in an antler handle, and I use that for pressure flaking for flint knapping. So what I'm going to do today is work on this small piece here, and what I'm going to try to do with it is make a new tip for this ishy stick style flaker. So there's a piece of Osage and the end is wrapped with sinew, and I've drilled it out already. Drill it out using the stone drill. It's about that deep into there. You gotta just take your time. But we're gonna be ready for a new tip. I'm gonna set my drill aside where I won't break it, hopefully, in my handle. These couple of copper pieces. And I'm gonna begin working this. I've got this stone to act as an anvil stone, and what the idea is for me to work this and try to continually work it and round it, and to taper one side of it. Basically, I'm trying to have it look like a copper rod, whereas this piece worked out the way it did. It's wedged down in there, and I usually use it for sharpening because it's got that flatter, skinnier edge. It works great for pressure flaking. So let's get into it here. I'm going to zoom the camera in a little bit and we'll get going. This piece has already been annealed in the fire, so I'm just going to begin working it just using a hammer stone on an anvil. And I have to also hold it with my fingers. Sometimes these things just flake and shatter, as it's filled with, in metalworking, what they call cold shuts, which is just all those little cold pieces folding back onto each other. I'm gonna try to work on that tip just a little bit. So once I can get one of the ends to taper, there we're starting to get someplace. The tough thing with copper is that it work hardens. So the more you work it, the harder and kind of more brittle it gets. So right now, the process I'm doing to it from a metal standpoint would be essentially I'm just drawing it out. And right now I'm kind of drawing it out square or rectangular. We're just cold working the copper. Just trying to make a little flaker out of this raw piece. And I'm sure it was done historically. A lot of what you see, at least in my region, the copper being used for at various points is for sewing awls. You can see, you know, without the grinding, I'm getting really close to the shape of what this flaker is like. Oops. But I want to taper it down more if I can. Get my fingers beat up. But they used it to make some beautiful jewelry and effigy pieces. And here I am just, you know, Hulk smashing it into a hopefully functional tool. And some of this stuff I found working it over the last couple of years. Some of it is a lot grainier. I can already feel that it's getting harder. And it's getting hotter to hold. Essentially, I'm going to try to taper this side to fit down into that Osage. we're getting close. That's where we're at. Getting so close. It's almost there. We just got to keep pounding on it. Very, very close to what we need. So now at this point, I'm just gonna taper that tail and kind of try to work that tail round. So there you can see that is worked down pretty good. It's gonna fit about that far down into there. Okay, so now that seats up in there pretty good. Okay, so it's in there. Now I'm going to use that to hold the piece as I work down the tip. So there's our copper tip. that's good enough to start knapping with. We just took off any of that straggler stuff on the outside. Made sure it's tight up in there. Okay. Let's try out our copper tipped flaker. It's a piece of dacite. Works great. And it bites really well. Feels pretty solid up in there. I can always knock it back. I could put a little pitch glue on it and using the edge for grinding to set up a platform. That works great too. Yep, no complaints there. Oh yeah. Yeah. You could probably also use it as an indirect percussion stick. I don't have as much experience with that technique.